So all of you can hear me? Can all of you hear me? Am I audible to all of you? So in the last class we discussed still finding the bending moments, like using Cormos method. Yesterday also there was a numerical in the question paper. I hope all of you have solved it. Now let us go the next part. Okay, what is the next part actually? It is the shear forces. So first of all, for finding out the shear forces, so finding out the shear forces, first of all, you have to find out the dispersion in the direction of span. Okay. Now dispersion in the direction of span is 0.85 plus 2 into 0.8 plus zero point 0.2. This means what? This means 0.85 is the width of this wheel part. Okay. Now 0.80 mm is wearing put and 200 mm is the slab. Everyone knows that. So this is how we'll find out the dispersion. Okay, how this load will be dispersed. Then after that, what we'll do is we'll find out the effective width. These are all the way we have done it before only. The same process. Fine. Now, if you see here, we'll find out the breadth of the cross girder. The breadth of the cross girder is 30 centimeter. Then, from the B by L ratio, that is this one, you will be able to find out the value of K. Okay. Once you find out the value of K, so you'll find out what load per meter width and then shear force is impact, considering the impact factors and all. Okay. Now this part Kx equal to this one is this formula 1 minus x by L plus Bw. So these things actually we discussed in the previous classes also. Okay. So this is how we will be solving out this. Now if you come to the bottom of this, dead load bending moment and shear forces. So dead load bending moment and shear forces, how will you find out? So look, first of all, what will you do? You will find out K, that same thing, K, then from Pigot's curve, small m1, small m2, then MB, ML, and then after all, you will find out the complete depth. Okay, so in this way, you will be finding out the complete depth. And you will be finding out the complete moment. After finding out the complete moment, what we will do is we'll find out this MB and ML. Okay, so if you find out the MB ML, that means what? These are all, you know, after taking the continuity effect and then, impact factor and all, you'll be finding out the total design moment and shear stress. And rest everything is almost similar. Now, after that, once you find out the total moment MB and ML, then you find out the total shear force. Now, once you find out these things, then what will happen is that we'll be finding out the design of the section. Okay, that means the effective depth D and all, and this can be found out from this formula. AST, area of steel, is m by sigma st into ZD, and where m equal to QBD square. These things are from design of structures. Then you just find out the area of the steel. Okay, and these things I think so you all know it, like tau equal to V by BT and everything, right? So basically, this thing is up to this is important. Now, after that, there will be what? Design of longitudinal girders. So this part, Now we'll go to the next unit. That means this will be what? Bearings and expansion joints for bridges. Now look, can you see my screen? I'll give you the notes. Don't worry about it. Can you see the PDF? I hope you all can see this. Can you all see this? My screen? Yes. Okay, fine. Now bearings and expansion joints. Now, what are these bearing and expansion joints? So these are actually mechanical arrangements, okay, that are provided in the superstructure of the bridge, so as to transmit the load to the substructure. Okay, so these are mechanical joints that are actually arrangements that are provided in the superstructure to transmit the load to the substructure. Now they can be thought as the interfere or via media between the superstructure and the substructure. Now between the superstructure and the substructure, these bearings are what? They are the medium through which the load will be transferred. Now how is the function of bearings? So now function of bearings is what? To transmit the vertical loads to the substructure, that is to the pier or abutment, then to facilitate the movement that is caused by thermal sensors. That means what? First of all, the loads of the superstructure, that means the vehicle moving load, whatever live or dead, that load is to be transferred to the superstructure, substructure, right? So it will be transferred by bearings. Then suppose there is expansion and contraction in the bridge. So how will it be handled? That will be done then to provide rotational movement to the girders. Rotational movement to the girders. Okay. So bearings are intended to transmit forces. Is my voice okay now? Is my voice okay now? Someone is okay. Can anyone respond? Is my voice okay now? Is my voice okay now? Can anyone respond? Is my voice okay now? Okay, all are saying they can hear now. Okay, fine. So now let us carry on again. So the forces on the bearings, these are certain forces. Now reactive forces, longitudinal, uplift and transverse forces. So these are the forces that will be acting on a bearing. Okay. Now what are the different types of bearing? There can be two types of bearing, fixed and expansion. Fixed bearing are those which allow rotation, while expansion bearings allow both rotation and translation. Okay. So fixed bearings are what? Those allow only rotation, while expansion bearings are those what? Which allow both rotation and translation. Okay. The causes for the movement in bearings is to creep in concrete. I hope all of you know that creep in concrete. What is the reason? Now, some of the commonly used these bearings. So number one is what? Rocker bearing. This one is what? Rocker bearing. So rocker bearings are what? These are only suitable for straight steel bridges. This type of bridge bearing consists of a what? Pin. That means rocker pin to accommodate large load, deflections, as well as vertical loads. Now the rocker bearing which is used for span lengths of 15 meter and more. Okay, so these rocker bearings are used for span lengths of 15 meter and more. First of all, let me show you a video in order to clear the concept of bearings. Hmm. I hope all of you can see my screen. Okay. All of you can see the video. Probably can potentially cause a failure of the bridge structure. Here, bearings, the critical elements of overall bridge system. It's a small part of overall structure cost, but if they function improperly can potentially cause a failure of the bridge structure. A bridge is mainly consist of two major parts, superstructure and substructure. The portion of a bridge structure from bearings to the above called as superstructure, and below bearings it is called as substructure. Structures were previously only considered to be rigid and immovable bodies until the end of 18th century. But with the passage of time, engineers realized that there is some dimensional changes and deformation in the structure due to various factors, which are thermal expansion and contraction. We know materials expand when they are heated. In hot weather, bridges having a long span expand and push the supports, and materials contract when they are cooled. So in a cold weather, bridges having a long span contracts and pull the supports. Longitudinal forces, braking and tractive. Suppose a vehicle crossing the bridge from that direction and suddenly apply the brakes above the bridge. Braking force resulting from this application of brakes. And if the vehicle suddenly accelerates just above the bridge, tractive effect caused through the acceleration of the driving wheels. Centrifugal forces, which is the apparent force at outward direction on any object in a rotating frame. When a bridge is situated on a curve and a vehicle will cross it with a velocity, centrifugal force will act. All portions of the structure will be affected by the centrifugal action by the moving vehicle. By this effect, Ultadana flyover at Kolkata collapsed on March 2013 while the heavy goods truck crossed the flyover under the cart stretches. The bearings under the 40-meter steel girder at the cart couldn't able to resist the centrifugal action and crashed into the canal 7 meters below. Due to elastic deformation of bridge under live load, due to the seismic forces during earthquake,
due to wind loads, water current forces, etc. These factors continuously push and pull the supports until it achieves the freedom required, and in this process causing damages to the structures. Hence, the bearings are introduced between the superstructure and substructure for accommodation of various movements and transfer the load from superstructure to substructure by absorbing the shock of vibration. And this is pedestal, which provides the clearance between superstructure to substructure so that it can move freely. Bearings are classified according to the material used and freedom of movement of the rigid body, which is termed as degree of freedom. There are total 6 degrees of freedom in a 3D space. Translation in the x-axis along the roadway, rotation in the x-axis, translation in the y-axis across the roadway, rotation in the y-axis, translation in the z-axis vertically, and rotation along the z-axis. Sliding bearings. It is a simple arrangement of two plates sliding over the other. These bearings permit translational movements in longitudinal direction as well as in the transverse direction, but no rotational movements permitted. When a mild steel over a mild steel plate used in sliding bearing, the coefficient of friction will be in between 0.2 to 0.3. The coefficient of friction will be 0.15 when the mild steel over the phosphor bronze plate used, and the coefficient of friction will be less than 0.08 when the PTFE used over the stainless steel plate. PTFE means polytetrafluoroethylene, widely known as Teflon, which is also used as non-stick coating for frying pan and other cookware. It has one of the lowest coefficient of friction of any solid. Pin bearings are one of the oldest type of bearings, permits rotational movement and prevent translational movement. The pin transfers the forces by rotation from the sole plate which is attached to the superstructure to the masonry plate which is attached to the substructure. These plates are usually anchored by bolting to the substructure which resists the translational movement. Rocker bearings can support high loads, allow translation movement in longitudinal direction by simply rocking back and forth, and rotational movement in longitudinal direction by the rotation of pin attached in it. The pintail is a vertical pin which is driven into the masonry plate at the top that prevents the rocker from sliding instead of rocking. And this is the maximum eccentricity of the rocker bearing. Rocker bearings can be either fabricated without pin, which is linear rocker bearing, or with pin, which is called as pin rocker bearing. Roller bearings, which are generally consist of cylindrical heavy metal rollers, which bear the load and roll on the masonry plate. Only longitudinal transverse movement permitted on roller bearings by rolling. These are stopper plates, prevent overrolling of the rollers. And this is guide, which prevent the movements in transverse direction. This tie bar maintains the fixed spacing between the roller during movement. There are different types of roller bearings are available. Single roller bearings, multiple roller bearings, gear roller bearings, and rocker cum roller bearings. Merits of steel bearings. Steel bearings are economical, relatively cheap, easily fabricated by manufacturer, and easy to install. There are some demerits of steel bearings. Tilting under high load, high maintenance cost. Some parts always requires lubrication and worn out in improper lubrication. Rust and corrosion in steel bearings can cause freezing of the bearings. Elastomeric bearings allows movement in all directions by elastic deformation and twisting. Elastomeric pad is made of elastomer, which is natural rubber or synthetic rubber. When in a heavy load, the deformation of elastomeric pad exceeds its allowable limit, it can cause of sliding. And to prevent this type of bulging, the horizontal steel plates are provided. The thickness and number of plates depends on the magnitude of vertical loads. Elastomeric bearings can be rectangular or circular in shape depending on the Pigeon calculations. Pod bearings are the combination of sliding bearing and elastomeric bearing. It allows three-dimensional movement in all directions. This is the top plate attached with superstructure by bolting. This is guide provided for the guidance during sliding of the plate. And this is the sliding plan which slides over the polytetrafluoroethylene sheet. This is the bottom plate anchored with the substructure. Here is the pod attached with the bottom plate. And this is a circular elastomeric bearing pad which is inserted into the pod. This is the internal seal which seals the elastomeric pad and protects the edges of it. This is the cover of pod which is a piston. When the piston transfers the high pressure into the elastomeric bearing, it behaves like a viscous fluid and moves in all directions freely. If you like this video, make sure you hit the subscribe button below and click on the bell.
I hope all of you could see the video and understand a little bit about the bearings. Can anyone respond? So can you share? Wait. So basically, we'll be doing numericals also of this. Let us go where we left. So just now, as we discussed, rocker bearings. Now these are the rocker bearings. So in rocker bearings, these are used for span lengths of 15 meter or more, and it is made of steel and is connected to the substructure through a steel plate. It is bolted or welded to the primary bridge structure component. Okay. So now to prevent the rocker in a bearing from making translational movements, pintles or shoes are used which resist transverse forces. Okay. Yeah, so I hope you saw in the video. Now the shoe is trapezoidal, which extends up to the base plate. Now a groove is made to hold a rocker pin, which in turn is covered by the top shoe. Now, following are the specifications for rocker pins. The diameter of the rocker pin shall not be less than 16 mm. So, these are certain specifications as per IRC 83, Indian Road Congress 83. Okay, the pin shall be fitted to a depth of 0.5 d in the groove. Okay, then the minimum clearance above the top surface of the rocker pin shall be 2.5 mm. So these are the certain criteria that you'll have to consider while designing the rocker bearings. Now we'll go to the next time is rocker and roller bearings. Now in rocker and roller bearings, what you get to see is translational movement is facilitated by a group of nest of rollers. That means in the previous one there was no translational movement, but here there is translational movement which is facilitated by what? A group of rollers. So here is the roller. These are the rollers. Now in this what happens? These are for spans of moderate lengths. And the drawback of this is that it has very high potential of collecting dust and accumulation of dust and all, which may lead to the freezing. Freezing of the bearings means what? These bearings might not be able to what freely move if the dust accumulates. So these are the Codel provisions. The minimum diameter of the rocker of the roller shall be 75 mm. The ratio of length of roller to its diameter shall be normally not be more than 6, but more than 10 in any case. The gap between the rollers shall not be less than 50 mm in the case of multiple rollers. Okay. So these are the criteria. Now the allowable working loads per unit length of cylindrical rollers for flat surface. So here are the allowable working loads per unit length of cylindrical rollers shall be taken as for what? Single and double rollers, it is 8d Newton per mm of length. That means 8 times the diameter d. Okay. Then for 3 or more rollers, it is 5d. Now for high tensile steel, it will be 10d for single and double rollers, and for 3 or more, it is 7d, where d is the diameter of the roller in mm. Fine. Now, I hope up to this point it is clear for all of you. We have some numericals after this, some criteria. So we'll be doing all this. Okay.